Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, 𝗤𝗲𝗄𝗏. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 307. Intentions built on why. I can pretty much guarantee something each new year brings. A few resolutions and a whole host of good intentions. The problem is, good intentions rarely produce the desired outcomes. Bold statement, I know, but stick with me. And don't worry, this isn't going to be another "let me help you set your goals so you crush it" lecture. Almost the opposite, actually. I mean, who amongst us is really inspired by the idea of crushing anything? If you are, let's not waste each other's time, as this may not be the episode for you. But if all that crushing it stuff doesn't sit too comfortably with you, it's actually a real turn-off for me. Keep listening as I look at intentions from a different perspective. So in this episode, I'll be talking about where we start with intention setting, and it's not where you might think. It's an opportunity to reconnect with your inner compass that often gets recalibrated by the noise, obligations, and expectations we experience. I'll declare what I'm not interested in: the overinflated, loud, and easy to measure goals that many try to push us into. Of course, measurement is important, but in my experience, it's more about the feelings than the numbers. Anything that pulls us away from the wisdom of our inner compass and the stuff that fuels our flourishing is a pull I'll resist with all of my might. I choose to stay grounded, decisive, and energized. So first on the list, your inner compass. The idea of intentions and being intentional crops up time and time again in my work, both with individual introverts, but also with corporate groups. So let's start by being clear about what I mean by intentions. To me, my intentions are the driving force that underpin my thoughts, behaviours, and decisions. As 𝗵𝗲𝗶𝘁𝘀 says, they are the motivating belief behind my actions. So second on the list, your motivating beliefs. In the early stages of working with my intentions and the beliefs that underpin them, I had to bring them into sharp focus a lot of the time. These days they are the ever-present backdrop, wallpaper, or scenery behind everything I do. That doesn't mean they are mere window dressing or that I can take them for granted, though. When I'm faced with a dilemma, I bring them back to the fore to help me solve my problem. And in this changing world we're living in, I need to make sure that they are current. Don't get me wrong, they don't and shouldn't change on a whim. But as I've aged, mine have been refined. So yes, my motivating beliefs have changed over time. The things that guide my decisions and actions now are different to those in my earlier career. And that's normal. We're meant to grow, to evolve, to change. Discovering and locking on to what matters most to you throughout the various chapters of your life is essential. So third on the list, reviewing where you are. If we don't do that for ourselves, we're more likely to be seduced into colluding with what others want for us or think is right for us. When that happens, we're likely to be more frustrated than ever, so the tension and overwhelm takes hold of our mind and body. Not a great place to be, she says from experience. For me, that resulted in me feeling like I had no choice, that it was pointless trying anything because I no longer knew who I was or what I wanted from life. Oh, and this was a biggie. I felt like my voice and opinions mattered for naught because the only people who listened seemed to criticise anyway. Of course, it's always easier to be wise after the event, and that's why it's so useful to have the right reflective process and the right people in your corner. Fourth on the list then, people and process. Hang on, is that fourth and fifth? I guess it doesn't really matter. So we're now getting close to where to start with intention setting. And often, as 𝗏𝗲𝘁 recommended, we're told to begin with the end in mind. Where do we want to be? I have found that there is a step before that, though, one that actually helps us define the where we want to be. And that is what really matters to us, the why. And then the how we want to feel or where we want to be or what we want to have, we look at through the lens of our why. I remember going through a similar process with a mentor of mine, and I really struggled when trying to answer the why after the what, when I'd never considered the why before. So, if we're to get better at understanding our intentions, we need to start with the why, not get to it as an afterthought. Our why doesn't justify the what is built on our why. So, taking into account my 4 or 5 key moments of my musings during this episode, here are some reflective actions for you to explore in your own time. Firstly, take time to understand your values and why they are important to you. Your inner compass is derived from your values after all. Next, unpack your motivational beliefs, the ones that point to your why. This is often best done with someone who knows you well or a professional like a coach or supervisor. Explore how these may have changed over time and acknowledge your growth and progress. Next, ensure that your intentions support your temperament rather than fight it. But, and this is an important but, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't stretch you in some way. As humans, we're designed to grow and develop, which doesn't happen when we keep doing more of the same. Building on that, ensure that your intentions are aligned with and relevant to this next chapter of your life. As 𝗵𝗲𝗍 wisely said, what got you here won't get you there. So honour the changes you're experiencing and the difference you want to make. Then, have the courage to step away from those people, places and things that tie you uncomfortably to who you were. Find and spend more time with those who inspire you and encourage you to be the fullest expression of yourself. That leads nicely on to install and maintain the boundaries that protect you and support you on your journey. And when the time comes, defend those boundaries with firm, loving kindness. There is more than enough strife in the world, so we don't need to add to it. Finally, prioritise processes that help you to remain aligned, centred and grounded. For me, these include things like my gratitude practice, mindful meditation, supervision, coaching and qigong. All and any of these help us to stay in touch with our why, even when the world gets too noisy. Time to absent yourself. I'm a firm believer that when I allow my why to lead the way, energy flows unabated and everything feels less effortful. I find I don't need to push, which is such a relief to me and my nervous system. That inner compass of ours has wisdom beyond measure, so all we have to do is tune in intentionally and follow trustingly. That's what keeps us confident, authentic and grounded. I invite you to sense, in whatever way works for you, what becomes possible when your intentions are aligned with your inner compass and therefore your motivating beliefs. See in your mind's eye and physically feel how much more fulfilling life becomes when we allow rather than push. That's when we experience more clarity, better stability, and deeper self-trust. So as we close this episode, ask yourself what really matters to you and why. Then craft an intention that allows that to become a reality over whatever timeline feels appropriate. You'll then be well placed for your thoughts, behaviours, and decisions to take you there. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us, and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.